Hello and welcome to DESS. This is a sports talk show. Many of you may have seen the show before, but some of you haven't. So far, the show has been in Icelandic, but we have made the decision to change it over to English, so everyone on the World Wide Web and beyond can enjoy this show. This is going to be the first show in English, so we're going to keep it pretty simple. Going to cover a few things, and we'd like to point out that next week we're going to have a DESS special. It's going to be a Champions League preview. As most of you know, the Champions League final is being played in Wembley between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund, and that's going to be a massive game, and we're going to have a special show just covering all the bases before that game the Saturday of next week. So we're going to get straight into it. The first topic we're going to talk about today is the sacking of Roberto Mancini as Manchester City manager. First, I'd like to say that I'm really surprised that they decided to let him go. But since I think that he's done a good job since he's been there, he won the club's first league trophy in I don't know how many years. So he did a good job. He brought some stability to the club, even though this season hasn't been City's best. So I think it's not fair on Mancini that he's been sacked, but I don't know what you think.
Well, I think because his spending spree was they spent probably almost £1 billion, I think.
Yeah, if you take signing bonuses and salaries into it, they've spent, well over that.
I think it's around £1 billion since the takeover.
Yeah,
and
since the takeover, yeah, that's right, yeah.
And if you don't, coming off of a title and you don't you fall out of the group stages in the Champions League, I think that's just an automatic sacking if you don't win the title. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So. And especially after, they lost the cup final. I think he would have been fine if they would have won the cup final.
Yeah.
But since they lost that to Wigan, which got relegated, 3 days after?
Yeah.
It's an absolute, it's a disgrace. So
yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from, and I was sure that he wasn't going to get the sack before the cup final, but since he lost the cup final, like you say, I was expecting him to get the sack. Nevertheless, I think it was really unfair that he got the sack because he did bring stability to the club, he did bring in his players, and they've been doing reasonably well. Yeah, you're right, they were knocked out of the Champions League in both of his seasons in the Champions League, and they didn't even make the Europa League this year. So, yeah. You can say that he deserved to lose his job, but on the other hand, this is just the madness of football today. Who are they going to bring in? Pellegrini from Malaga? What is he going to do? Is he going to do any better? It's going to take 2 years for him to bring his players in, to make his mark on the team. So it's you just go back to square one instead of sticking with it. As we talked about last week, Manchester United have stuck with Sir Alex Ferguson for 27 years. So that shows you that stability is helpful. So in that regard, I'm really disappointed that City let him go.
Yeah. Of course, there are two sides of the coin. I think the stability point is good. I think I've seen many games with City this year, and they played some good football for sure.
Yeah,
I think they played overall, maybe not the best football in the league, in the EPL.
Mm-hmm.
But if you talk about the stability, it's yes and no, because there was no stability from the league games over, to the Champions League games. So they got outplayed at home by Dortmund. That's unacceptable, even though Dortmund is a better team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But if you compare the budget and just the team on paper, it's supposed to be the best team in the world, maybe aside from Barcelona or Real Madrid. I don't know, but and to be honest, I think if you would coach Man City, he would have won the league at least one of those 2 years,
Yeah,
or either this season or last season. I think it's just that strong on paper. So you have to win at least one or two titles every year. It's just, I mean, the pressure is enormous, and I think Mancini is just, I can't compare him to Alex because he's just too soft. There's all kinds of issues in the dressing room which would have never been at Man United, and he's wearing the scarf and he's just dodging difficult questions. He looks like a clown sometimes at press conferences, and I don't know, like if it's the language or if it's just him, or it just looks weird. And I think it would have been a gamble to stick with him, but it would have been it's just they can get whatever manager they want, and that's another point.
yeah,
So they can get Mourinho, which I would not do personally. Yeah. Pellegrini is in my opinion a better coach. So because he's done amazing things with this shit team Malaga.
Yeah.
And Mancini lost the cup final to Wigan, and they were basically outplayed. They were outplayed at home a couple of times in the Champions League. They lost the league to the rivals by, what was it, 12 points?
It's a big margin, yeah.
Big margin. And I think, you just have to go. Period.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I can completely understand where you're coming from with Mancini, and probably if I was on the board at City, I would have demanded it. I would have demanded a trophy this year. And like I said, and like you said, he would have kept his job had they won the cup. But since they lost the cup final and all the other stuff that's been going on, I mean, he had trouble with Tevez before, he had trouble with Balotelli, and apparently he's had trouble with other players. And there's been a lot of he's been complaining a lot in press conferences about the club not doing this, about the club not doing that. And just before he got the sack, he was complaining that the club's press officer was not quashing the rumors in the media that there was going to be a new manager and that he was going to be sacked. So I think the trust between him and the club had gone a long time ago. But nevertheless, I'm sad to see him go. I'm always sad when a manager goes, but that's I mean, most of the time. But this is just the way football goes these days. It's sad, and we'll see what happens to Man City next year. But a good point to think about is that out of the top 5 clubs in England, 3 of them are going to have new managers starting next season. Only Tottenham and Arsenal are going to have the same managers as this year, with Man City, Man United and Chelsea all having different coaches for the first game of next season. So that shows that it's a pretty volatile environment being a manager in the Premier League. But talking about Spurs and Arsenal, moving on. Final weekend of the Premier League season coming up this weekend. 10 games being played on Sunday. And there's really nothing to play for anyone except for Spurs and Arsenal for the final Champions League qualifying place. And we've talked about this all winter long. And we'd said all winter long that it was going to come down to the final game of the season, and it has. So Spurs play Sunderland at home. Arsenal go away to Newcastle. Both Sunderland and Newcastle had been sort of in the relegation battle, but are now safe. So how do you see things panning out on Sunday?
Well, I think the tides have turned in my head, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I predicted that Spurs would miss out, like usual.
Yep.
Know that story?
Mm-hmm.
But this year, I don't have a good feeling for Arsenal going to St. James's Park this Sunday. Even though they have it in their own hands, they are usually pretty fragile at that stadium. Even though Newcastle has nothing to play for, Arsenal have been quite slumpy in the past 4 games. Even though they haven't lost a game in the league since March 18th or 20th or something.
Yeah.
Against your Spurs.
True.
I think it's been 9 or 10 games.
Yeah.
But this Sunday, I think it's gonna happen eventually that Tottenham are gonna get the fourth place, and I think this Sunday is their best chance. If they don't get it this Sunday, then it's not going to be next year. It's going to be, because they might lose Bale. They might, it's going to be, just a turmoil in,
Yeah.
in the dressing room after the game, and on the ground, on the practice ground. So there's a huge pressure on Arsenal on Sunday, but there's a lot of pressure as well on the Spurs, and I think they will win their game. But I can see Arsenal slip up on Sunday. That's my feeling.
Yeah. I kind of, I hate to agree with you, but I'm gonna have to agree with you because, yeah, I think Spurs are gonna win their game. I think they're gonna beat Sunderland. I think this is the first time in many many years that Spurs have actually had a home game in the final game of the season, and actually with something to play for. And I think the team is not gonna let the fans down and play poorly and then lose the game. So I think Spurs will beat Sunderland, and hopefully do it comfortably from my point of view. Even though they have, just like Arsenal, they've actually been playing incredibly badly for the last 5 or 6 games. Watching Spurs play has been just plain torture. The ball hasn't been moving, and it's just all kinds of problems going on. With regards to Arsenal going away to St James's Park to play Newcastle, I think, it's always, every time a club from London goes up north to play, it's always tough. And I think Arsenal have struggled at St James's Park in the past, and I think they're going to be fragile to losing the game. But I don't think they're going to lose the game. I think they might draw it, and if they draw it and Spurs win, Spurs will finish fourth. But I'm not going to back down from what I've said before, and I've said before that Arsenal are going to get into the Champions League. So I'm going to predict that Arsenal will somehow finish fourth. Well, not somehow. I mean, they will finish. They will finish fourth, and they will make it in the Champions League. But yeah, talking about the ramifications, if Spurs don't get in, I mean, I'm not entirely sure what effect that's going to have. I mean, that's just going to give the media just the ability to open fire on the Gareth Bale thing. They're not going to stop until either he signs a new contract at Spurs, or he puts out a press release saying he's staying, or until someone makes an offer for him or something, or if he asks for a transfer or something. I don't know. But if Spurs miss out on fourth, that circus is going to start, and it's not going to stop until someone says something. So and the effects for the whole club are going to be big as well, because it helps if you get into the Champions League, and because for Spurs they have a chance if they get fourth and keep Bale, then a lot of top players from other clubs that might want to move in the summer, they're going to think, I want to go to Spurs, I want to play with Bale, I want to play in the Champions League, and I want to make Spurs a force to be reckoned with in Europe. So it's a really, really, really big game, and it kind of reminds me. I mean, the battle for the final Champions League place hasn't been maybe this intense since Chelsea managed to finish fourth on the final day the year before Abramovich came in. Well, a few months before Abramovich came in, because if Chelsea hadn't gotten fourth that year, I think it was 2003 or 4. Yeah, I think it's 2003. They would have been close to like going out of business and having real cash problems. So
yes,
I mean, that's not going to happen in this case, but the overall effects for the club are maybe going to be as big.
It was the same in 2005, basically.
Yeah. With the whole lasagna thing for Spurs, right?
Yeah, between the same clubs. So
true.
It's going to be very interesting to see.
It is going to be interesting, and I know for sure that I'm going to be glued to the television.
Yeah, I won't be, because I'm not going to be anywhere close to a television show, which I just realized right now. I just booked a trip, but we'll see.
It's one of those things. Technology will allow you to keep abreast of things in England. But
I'm sure I want to see it though, so it's fine.
Yeah, like we said, football hasn't exactly been beautiful for the past few weeks. Not at all. But moving on swiftly, final topic today, I guess. NBA. Last week we spoke quickly about the situation in the playoffs. At that time, and At that time, all the series were tied at 1-1. Since then, Memphis have beaten Oklahoma to move to the West Finals. The Spurs have beaten Golden State to move to the West Finals, where they play Memphis, and the Heat have gone to the East Finals, where they await either the Knicks or the Pacers. So, and yeah, the Pacers lead the Knicks 3-2 as we speak. You predicted correctly last week that the teams that had lost a home game were in trouble, and Oklahoma proved you right, unfortunately.
Yes, yeah, big time. They just missed Russell Westbrook too much, and Kevin Durant kind of went no-show in the fourth quarters in a couple of these games, 2 or 3 games, where he just shot poorly, bad shot selection. I don't know if it was, if it were the players or the coach, Scott Brooks, and this is my opinion, an overrated coach. I don't know what they were doing sometimes when Kevin Martin takes the ball down low and he dribbles up on his weak side and takes a fadeaway shot, jumping away from the basket on his left foot with 16, 17 seconds on the shot clock still, and obviously didn't make those shots. More Kendrick Perkins, he can't make a layup. They just didn't have it. I mean, Memphis is just too, I don't want to say experienced, but they're just too good, to make mistakes like that, and they capitalize. If you play poorly against them, if you don't, make your free throws, like Kevin Durant missed 2 free throws with, I think, 40 seconds left to tie the game at one point, game number 2 or 3. It doesn't matter. Memphis is just a better team. Especially if Oklahoma is missing Westbrook. I think it would have been close. It would have went to 7 games with Westbrook, but it was easy for Memphis, kind of 5-1. Thunder will come back stronger next year, I'm sure. More experienced. They still got a young team.
Yeah, exactly. They've got a young team, and they've still got Durant, and Westbrook's going to come back healthy. So that's always going to give them a chance as long as they have those 2 guys playing. And so I mean, we know what teams are going to meet in the West Finals. We'll talk about that some other time once the series is underway. But the East Finals, it's going to be the Heat playing either the Knicks or the Pacers.
Yes.
Pacers look like they're gonna go to the East Finals. I mean, is either team gonna have a chance against the Heat?
No.
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 I agree with you.
If any team has a chance in the East, it's the Pacers. But it's hard to see. I think they could steal 2 games against them.
Yeah, I mean the Pacers beat the Heat a couple of times in the regular season, so maybe.
Yeah, I think New York beat them once in the regular season. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think New York could as well steal a couple of games against the Heat, but I think that would, one of those nights where they shoot 33s and make 20 of them, then they can beat anyone. But that doesn't happen two nights in a row for them, unfortunately. They're not, physical enough for the Heat, and probably not for the Pacers either. If the Pacers gets George Hill for the next game, I think they're going to win and close out the series. It's 3-2 right now. They're going back home to Indianapolis. The Pacers, Heat should be a good series. If that happens, and Grizzlies and Spurs should be a great series as well. So
exactly.
I think it's turning out to be all right. Because there's been a lot of injuries in the NBA this season. Rondo got injured early, out for the season. Westbrook missed the playoffs. It's bad for television, but
and of course Derrick Rose didn't play a game.
Derrick Rose doesn't play at all.
Yeah, exactly. It's been kind of a tough year for the NBA, and I mean, I think the best thing that could happen for the NBA in general is if someone makes a series of it against Miami. If it's the Pacers or the Knicks, or if it's either Memphis or the Spurs in the finals. I mean, that would, of course. I mean, if either Memphis or Spurs would make a good series against the Heat in the finals, that would be, of course, the best thing to happen. But we'll see what happens. I'm sticking with the Heat as I have since day one. It's the easy way out, I guess.
Yeah, I think the Spurs, if healthy, they can beat the Heat.
Yeah.
I don't think Memphis has a chance. But it should be a good finals. If Memphis are, still healthy and
Yeah.
play with the energy they played so far, they can beat Heat a couple of times, but maybe not in a 7-game series. But the Spurs could do that if they show the energy they did against the in the fourth game again. No, sorry, the third game I think against the Warriors.
Yeah.
They just play intensive defense and play fundamental basketball, fundamental offense. They got a lot of weapons. The ball movement is great. Great coach. Physical team. A lot of unorthodox players. Tiago Splitter. He can put a floater up, and he's like, I don't know, 6'5" or something.
Yeah.
Parker's quick.
Yeah. Exactly.
Ginobili is clutch. Duncan is clutch as well.
Yeah.
They can play poorly and still beat a good team like they did last night against the Warriors. So I wouldn't write them off, at all, anytime. So.
Yep, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the in the finals, in both the East-West finals and then in the finals themselves. But I think we'll call it a show at this point. Just like to say thanks everyone for watching, who's watching. Hopefully more of you will tune in now that we're doing this in a language that most of you should understand. And again, I'd like to remind you to look out for a special Champions League preview next week. We're going to be talking about what?
It's going to be a great show next week.
It's going to be a great show. We're going to cover everything: the teams, the coaches, possible hotels the teams are going to be staying at. Now, I'm only joking. So just look out for that show. Probably going to coming up middle of next week. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.